Hi, everyone. This is Candace Este with Autism One Media. Today, my guest is Christina Hildebrand. Good morning, Christina.
Hey,
good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
How's it going?
Good to be back. Good.
It's lovely to hear your voice, and I haven't done an interview in quite a little while. I've been super busy getting ready for the big conference.
Yeah.
Autism One 2018 conference, May 23rd through the 27th. Are you coming?
I am, and I'm speaking, and it's quite a lineup this year. You've got an amazing number of speakers. I think you said Terry had said that there were 130 or something speakers. Amazing.
133.
133. Yeah, exactly.
And you're coming too. You're going to speak too.
I am.
You're on yeah, there you go. So today, the reason why I wanted to talk to you was because of all these bills. I know that Pan introduced a nefarious bill one more time. And can you tell us all about that and what's up with Pan?
So Senator Pan, who, just to recap for everyone else who hasn't been following, if you haven't, he introduces the person that was behind the vaccine mandate law, SB1424, in 2015. In 2017, last year, he introduced the Children's Bill of Rights, which it sounds great, but realistically took away all parental rights, would have taken away all parental rights. That we shut down completely, did not go even to the Rules Committee. So that was a success and really showed that we can make a difference. And I say the greater sort of grassroots movement can make a difference. And then this year he's introduced SB1424, 1424, and it is a fake news bill. And basically what he's trying to do is silence anyone who anyone who is giving out what he calls false information. And the question really is, who determines what false information is, and who determines what fake news is? And one of he's been voiced as saying one of the things that he would like to see removed from all social media is, for example, information on vaccines that doesn't go by his book.
So it's censorship.
It's censorship, yeah.
Because
he's censorship.
He's a dictator. He wants to take all our rights. He wants to own our children. He wants us to, with the bill that he had introduced, the home visit bill, SB426, that died.
Yeah.
He wanted to police parents on attachment, nutrition, medical,
he basically,
social, educational.
With that one last year, that was another of his bills last year that was a bad bill. It died as well. But it basically would have put Big Brother, your next door neighbor, community member, somebody in your house, policing you and policing how you raise your children. So,
and I just want parents to know. I don't know a lot about this, but I'm sure I can find somebody who does. We have federal law that protects parental rights.
Yes. Yeah.
So, we haven't done much to turn around SB277. I'm hoping Trump will come in and do something.
Well, he did. We can talk a little bit about that. Trump gave us an avenue, a vehicle with the HHS Religious Freedom Conscience Division, and gave us an avenue to question the organizations that get federal funding and their role with vaccinations. So, for example, the one place where we've been really pushing that is with the UC schools. So the UC schools in the University of California basically are putting into effect this September. It finally goes into full effect, their vaccine policy, which would mandate that people have to have vaccines and have no religious exemption, just a medical exemption is allowed. And basically because they get half of their research funding from HHS, we are pushing them to add a religious exemption and have HHS remove their funding. And so we're actually working on that. So there are things Trump's put in place that he can only do things at a federal level. So we have to do things at a state level. Going back to Senator Pan's fake news bill, this is true censorship. He basically wants the way the bill reads is the bill would require any person who operates a social media as defined internet website with a physical presence in California to develop a strategic plan to verify news stories shared on their website. So this really gets at Facebook, Twitter, all the big social media, YouTube, all the big social media platforms. And what he's asking them to do, if this law goes into effect, which we're hoping, we're fighting against it, it would basically mean that all of those companies, so not us individuals, we can post stuff still, but those companies would go through and look at the news that we are putting up on their social media sites and remove it if they believe that it is not, if it is not properly, if it doesn't meet up to fact-checking standards. And he specifically said, things like the vaccine information, that there's so much
like our
news
CDC
on the vaccine.
whistleblower campaign that was all
real,
totally
news,
verifiable
but
information.
Yep. But it basically, and the piece that gets to me is, those social media organizations or corporations, they're already influenced by money. So they are becoming similar to mainstream media. They're influenced by money. Big corporations will go into Twitter and Facebook and will say, we want it skewed in our direction. Here's some money. The ads that you can see that by the ads that you get, by the stuff that is in your news feed. So you get what your friends show you, but you also are fed stuff through Facebook, through algorithms. And they're, if you listen to the hearings of Mark Zuckerberg, it is clear that happens. But what this would, to me, this even more so, rather than, first of all, these companies are going to have to hire fact checkers. Well, who's to say, difference of opinion and freedom of speech, nobody should be stopping, regardless of whether it's fake news. I get that I get that people shouldn't just be saying anything and everything, but we have a freedom of speech. You can say anything you want. Now, if it is detrimental to somebody else can sue you for being detrimental. That's fine. But we live in a country where we have free speech, and you should be able to post anything and everything that you want to say because it's free speech. It's our First Amendment rights. And so he's looking to take that away. The other interesting thing is that, the web, you can't restrict the web to a state, right? So California cannot restrict. It's not like there are borders on a website or a social media. Facebook is everywhere in the world, not in some countries that restrict it, but it is very hard to say, somebody posted something and they live in Minnesota, and so it's fine for them to post fake news. But if you're sitting in California, you can't post fake news. I mean, that's one of the sort of logistical things that just doesn't make sense with this bill on a very logistical level. But from a standpoint of this bill, I mean, it goes absolutely against our First Amendment rights. It's absolute censorship.
Mandated vaccines to go to school is against our constitutional right.
Yes, I agree with you.
In my opinion.
Yep. So, and it is.
So
I mean,
he's not a constitutionalist. I don't know where he's coming from. He doesn't seem like much of an American to me. Yeah. But that's just me.
Yeah. So anyway, so it's very. I think the other piece of this is very objective. So it's very much the fact checker that if I were to run a social media site, my fact checkers would have one interpretation, whereas if a pro pharma vax had a website, a social media site, they would have their fact checkers would have a different opinion. So there's no right. I mean, there's realistically no right or wrong. But the question becomes, how do these fact checkers? Who's paying the fact checkers? Who's paying the fact checkers? And it's just and so it's a bad bill. We're hoping that there will be opposition there's no opposition yet. It goes to the judiciary hearing on May 8th. We're hoping that some of the big internet players and even social media sites should be against it, just because it means that they have to employ these people. That is an extra expense to them. And so we're hoping that the big guns come out against it. and so everybody should be against it. I mean, nobody should really be for this because it's really.
We've heard Google talk about, having one piece of information, and that's like the go-to. Like there can't be any varying opinions or anything. They want us to go directly. If you Google something, they're going to show you what they want you to see.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, we're already part of the way there, but to put this into law, and that to me, it's one thing when you've got a corporation that chooses to do that. So you can choose to use Google, or you can choose not to use Google, right? You have as an individual, you have that right and that choice, and everybody should know how the algorithm works, and yes, that the fact that they are feeding you, that they're feeding you based on either their choice or their, whoever's paying them more money to raise things to the top. But you have a choice of whether to use Google or not, and Google has a choice to do what they want as a corporation. This is a bill that, by law, Google, Facebook, any other social media, Google's not really social media, but Google Plus is, that kind of thing, that they basically have no choice but to hire these fact checkers. And the question is, how are these fact checkers? Who qualifies the fact checkers? Who qualifies the fact checkers that are correct? I mean, it reminds me a lot, once again, and all of Senator Capan's bills remind me a lot of 1984. And if anybody hasn't read 1984 recently, I highly recommend reading 1984 because it's changing what is in the books, changing what is in the media, changing what is in the news, and it's changing history. And that's what will happen when we remove one person's choice or right to free speech. We remove history. We're changing the fundamentals of our country.
Right. Well, we can already see how they're spying on us. You get an email and then all of a sudden all these responses come up. You can pick, sure, thank you, or whatever, and then also in Messenger, Facebook Messenger.
Mm-hmm.
So, we can see all that. Yeah. That's supposed to be illegal, but I guess they go outside of our country and have them spy on us. That way it's not in our country. Yeah. Anyway, so that's how that's all going.
But legislatively, I will say we've already had 2 wins this year, which is really good. So there were 2 homeschool bills, one from Medina's office, one from Eggman's office. The Medina's office one was early on, came out, and both of them were in response to the Turpin family abuse, which was horrible, happened in California. There was a homeschool family of 13 kids that were basically being abused, and one of the kids got out and, notified the police. They came and found these 13 kids being abused, which is a horrible situation. And of course, the legislative knee-jerk reaction was, oh my God, we need to have a bill in place to stop this. And rather than looking at the abuse, they blamed it on homeschools because they had legally filed a PSA, a private school affidavit, and not being, looked at, basically had been able to homeschool without anybody noticing or knowing that these kids were in danger. Having said that, the law currently, if you have more than 6 kids in your homeschool, in your PSA, you should have had fire inspections. You should have had, people coming into your home, because at that point they consider it more similar to a daycare or a school than a homeschool, so to speak. So the existing law should have taken care, should have alerted this already. Medina's office put forward a bill that basically would have created fire inspections, had fire inspections in any size homeschool, which we a Voice for Choice advocacy, it doesn't fall within our realm, but under Empower Family California, we opposed it and asked them to remove that because, what is the fire inspection actually going to do? It's going to go into your home and tell you, you need to change your electrical wiring, or you need to do, it's not really, it doesn't make sense if you've got one kid sitting at a kitchen table to do fire inspections. And overall, the kid didn't even have to be at home when the fire inspection was happening. So the purpose of, to try and get rid of the abuse that happened in that family, this was kind of this just doesn't match up with what you're trying to do. They removed the fire inspections. We got that removed. and then they are now, the remainder of a bill, the homeschools are still actively going against the bill and want to kill the bill. But what's left of the bill is basically a additional section to the PSA, to the private school affidavit statement, that indicates how big your family is and some other information on that level. So that's greatly reduced. I can understand the homeschoolers don't want any more information being given out, so they're still opposing it, but it's great.
Well, that's probably part of the reason why they're homeschooling, because they don't want government involved in their children's lives.
Exactly. So, and then the other one was a bill put forward by Eggman, who, was not our friend during SB277, had another bill during SB277 that involved some vaccinations. She's similar to Pan in the sense that she does not take meetings. She refuses to take any meetings with any activists or anyone. And so her bill was to put together a committee to identify what other requirements there should be of homeschoolers. So California homeschool law is very open. You don't need to have any teaching credentials as a parent. You don't have to have health and safety inspections. You have to basically file a PSA. Now, most parents use charter schools and others, so they're in the system more, and they're this one family. It wasn't because they homeschooled that they were abusers. The homeschool tie to that was ridiculous. That's what they focused on. They were abusers. That's what they should be evaluated on and stop the abuse, rather than target all the rest of the homeschoolers that are not abusing their kids. And so that one was supposed to set up a committee. The issue there, and the reason why Empower Family California opposed it, was once you get a committee in place and they're creating a report, when that report comes out, the legislature is almost obligated to go by what that report says, right? So if it had said, yes, you should have health screenings, you should have credentialed teachers as parents as credentialed teachers, all of that type of thing, they would have gone and passed those bills. So it was really, we need to stop this right now. And it was stopped, and it didn't go any further, and it's dead for this year. One good thing about this year is it is an election year, and so, the Assembly and the senators, all of the Assembly gets elections, half of the senators get elected or have an election this year. And so it is, they don't want to put forward bills that are very, very controversial or get a lot of negativity, because it's going to hurt them at in the elections. And so some of that is showing.
So are these people that are introducing these bills, are they all Democrats or?
Yep, they're all Democrats, yes. And I mean, I say that with a laugh, but we have a two-thirds Democrat supermajority. So the likelihood of it being a Democrat is very high.
Yeah. And just so everyone knows, I used to be a Democrat until I came across Senator Pan.
Many of this movement were. And, there are some good bills going through this year. There's Assemblymember Orton Burke has a nurse midwife bill that would allow the nurse midwives to have less, the licensed nurse midwives to have not have to have doctor oversight on a bunch of different things. There are bills to looking into sort of pesticides and other toxic chemicals and labeling and that kind of thing. So there are some good bills out there, they will have less of an impact because they're not as rigorous as we would like, but at least they're going in the right direction.
And you are sitting up there in these committees, in these meetings, right? You're up there near Sacramento.
So I'm up in the San Francisco Bay Area. The ones that have happened in the last 3 weeks, we actually hired a lobbyist because I was on vacation, and then I have family stuff that I have to be in the Bay Area on hearing days. And so we actually hired a lobbyist because we found it was really to get our voice heard up there. Right now, so much of it is about relationship building and building those relationships with our legislators, so that when we do bring in a repeal to SB277, which will hopefully be in the next year, or 2 years at the very, very outside. But, when we bring in that legislation, that we have the relationships with these authors, with these legislators, and that we can really make a difference. And, I would say that to anybody in California or any state that you're in, make sure that you are in touch with your legislator, because on either front, when a bill comes forward that you want to oppose or a bill comes forward that you are for, you want them to know who you are, respect you as a person who's been involved, who knows who they are. And I can't stress enough how getting in touch with your legislator, your senator, your assembly person, is really important to building those relationships, so that when you have a bill that you want to make a difference on, you've got that. You don't have to start from scratch. You've got that relationship.
Right.
You can walk into their office and say, "Hi, what are your thoughts on this bill? We need your support, or we need your opposition." And they listen to you, and they see.
And we're going to learn all about that at Autism One this year. We have an advocacy track, an advocacy training track that will help everyone to start from square one and get to know your legislators and know what to do next. We have a lot of great people all around the country that are making a difference.
Yeah.
So
yeah. No, we do. No, and it's much more. We're definitely in a much better place than we were 3 years ago. We are much more awake.
These other states don't have Senator Pan.
No, they don't. No, there are a few of them that have just as bad, as bad. But the thing is, they're awake. The one big thing about SB277 that I will say is there hasn't, everybody said, oh, how California goes, the rest of the country goes. We're 3 years in now, and there's no other state that has done an SB277, and that says something. That means that we in California, even though SB277 passed, we made an impact, because there haven't been any other bills in any other state. And I don't think, if we didn't have SB 277 in California, I think that some of the other states would still be asleep. But I think we're wide awake across the country.
I absolutely agree.
And so
many people
like
would still be asleep. I still have people asking me, about medical exemptions and how to access them.
Yeah.
So that's good. Grandparents especially, not so much parents. Grandparents are very concerned.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we are making a difference. We talked about critical mass. Once you get 10% of the population,
it becomes
exponential.
Exactly.
So people are waking up.
Point. And I think we're getting closer. I won't go as far as to say we're winning, but we're definitely on a steady progression there. People are waking up, and even 3 years ago, when SB 277 happened, if I would talk to average people on the street, it would be, you'd say vaccines, and they'd be like, oh, yeah, so what kind of thing. Whereas now you say vaccines and people have a reaction. And even if it's they're good, vaccines are good, just the fact that people are awake enough to talk about them, I'm fine with there being some people that say vaccines are good from the perspective of, I'm going to try and convince them otherwise, but people are waking up and realizing that this is an issue that needs to be talked about.
And another thing, Christina, a lot of these people, like more and more people are writing about vaccines that we'd never heard of before.
Yep.
And I could be listening to a YouTube video on something completely outside of vaccines, and they'll bring up vaccines.
Yep.
And so, I feel like the work that we've done has really made a difference.
Yep. No, I think it's making a difference. I think the other piece that I see so often is parents who I think the majority of people are unaware about vaccines, so they haven't done their research. But the one thing that I'm absolutely seeing is, as soon as somebody starts doing the research, or not as soon, but once they get into the research and they start looking into it and they start questioning it, they absolutely fall onto the questioning side rather than the, oh my God, yes, I need to go out and get my kids and me and everybody vaccinated kind of thing. Like, there's definitely, once you start doing the research, and that's where science is on our side, because it's all scientific material they're reading. It's not the fake news they're reading. It's scientific stuff put out by the CDC, that is out there, that you open your eyes and you're just like, oh my goodness, I can't close my eyes to this. I can't go back to sleep. again, now that I know this information, I can't go back to sleep and unknow the information. And so I think that's one thing that we have going for us is that, more and more people are learning and being exposed to it. And even just an exposure of, well, have you researched vaccines? Is kind of like, oh, no, is that something I should do? Okay, I will go do that. And, just planting that seed is important, and it's happening. So,
well, thank you very much for your time today, Christina.
Yeah, you're welcome.
You'll have to forgive me for my furry friends. They follow me everywhere, and I can't keep them from barking. I sure try.
Fine. No worries at all.
They're just doing their job.
Yep. It's been great talking to you, and thank you for, I'll keep you posted on what's going on. And we'll see you at Autism One.
And I want all of our listeners to know that Autism One is happening at Chicago this year. We have May 23rd through the 27th at Weston Lombard Yorktown Center, Lombard, Illinois. Or is that Illinois? And we're going to be learning how to recover our kids from autism or, in my opinion, in my experience, vaccine injury.
Yep.
And we're going to learn all about these toxins and how to clear the pathways and find our way to detox and try to give our kids their lives back. So thank you so much for your time, and I'm so glad you're coming to Autism One. Thanks, Christina. Have an awesome day.
You too. Thank you.
Be well. Bye.
Bye.